Welcome back, everyone, to the WCS Season 3 Finals. Our next matchup, the second quarterfinal we have here in Krakow, Poland. It's a bit of a rematch. It feels a little bit familiar. The last time these two players met, it was for a lot more on the line, but right now it's still just as important because it's still in the bracket stage. One of them gets eliminated. One of them gets another shot to go for a WCS championship title. Our first player, the current defending champion, this man has been on a tear. And if I remember correctly, when I spoke to him in Burbank, he said, well, I think the only player who could maybe beat me is Polt. And other than that, I think I'm right on the path to take another title. Ladies and gentlemen, the defending champion of the WCS Premier League from Root Gaming, it is Hydra! And his opponent, the upcoming French superstar, he lost to Hydra in the finals of Season 2 in Toronto, but I'm sure he's learned a lot from him. Now he's back to try to uproot the defending champion from Millennium. It is Lilbow! Which of these two players will have a chance to stand up against Zanster, who looks so confident in our first quarterfinal? It's time to find out.
Thank you very much, Choba. We are all excited up here on the desk. And joining us in Poland is Tastosis, everybody. Hello, Nick and Dan. Welcome to the desk.
Thank you so much. We're really happy to be here and join you guys for this round of 8 in Krakow. Beautiful city, by the way.
Yeah, my first time here in Poland. I absolutely love it. I'm so excited to be here.
And we have a brilliant game on its way. The players are just getting set up in the booth. So before we go to the game and start talking about the game, the players did have a couple of words for each other.
Series, so yeah, maybe this round already is gonna be more exciting than last final. He uses stalkers very well. Yeah, maybe.
I think his biggest strength is that he has very clean hairs because he washes them all the time. He washes his hairs too much.
I don't know, I think he just plays same style every game. Yeah, I think my PvZ is weakness race, but it's fine.
I think my PvZ is my best matchup, even though Zerg is completely broken. Well, I guess I will be the crowd favorite just because I'm European, I suppose.
I don't know, I hope they will cheer for me. Sorry about you're not going to the BlizzCon this year.
Why so mean? I wanna go, please. Let me win.
Hydra and Lilbow, super excited for this one in Control.
Yes, it's going to be an absolutely amazing match. This is a repeat performance of the Toronto final, and it was a good series. Hydra was looking absolutely unbeatable. Like, we kind of talk about this, but he actually kind of made the tournament look a little bit silly. Like, all the other opponents were like, wow, maybe Polk can do it, and then he just gets absolutely obliterated. But it was Lilbow that stood up to him, took a couple of games off him, and made it close. And, I mean, the tail of the tape, look at the numbers, 19 and 4.
Man.
He's killing it.
It's pretty crazy. I think Hydra might be taking this entire tournament. This guy has had a long history. He was a fantastic Brood War player. And when you've been playing for that long, you definitely have the experience here. This is a huge stage. The pressure's on Lilbow here.
He's only played in 2 seasons before this. He was 2nd place in season 1, first place in season 2. This is season 3.
What's above first place is the question.
Plus 1, I guess. Like, the grand champion, maybe? I don't know.
Wow.
A new title.
Do you guys think that he's just going to be able to wipe the floor with Lilbow?
I'm hoping no. It's kind of interesting in that interview, actually. They're not very good at talking smack, but they did identify their strengths and weaknesses, which I did like. They talked about how, well, you play the same style every game, Lilbow, and it is usually Blink Stalkers or Stalkers and Sentries mixed in with some gateway timing, so it can be kind of snowbally one way or the other. But Lilbow is so crisp and so clean about that execution. We're going to see Protoss tomfoolery at the highest level.
And Lilbow's had a little bit of time to rethink what he's going to do coming into Hydra. And if you think about it, there's a lot less pressure on him now than there were in the original series in the finals they met last time.
I do suppose you're right about that, but don't forget, if Lilbow can somehow go through and win this tournament, he's going to be going to BlizzCon, which is the biggest stage in StarCraft 2.
I'm kind of with you in Control. I really want Lilbow to win this. I don't know if he can. If I'm a betting man, I'd be going with Hydra here. But I think you're right, Artos. Just, there's not as much pressure here. I think Hydra's expected to win. But if Lilbow can upset, that'd be huge.
It's interesting. I mean, well, the BlizzCon storyline is there, though. And these guys are aware of it, Like, they were kind of joking around about it in the interview, and I think that's a good way to handle nerves. But Lilbow has to beat Hydra here, and if he does, he gets rid of one of his biggest obstacles in going to BlizzCon. Like, the rest of the tournament gets easier for him, I believe.
And I mean, Hydra is probably the best Zerg in this WCS Premier League, right? I mean, a 2nd place, a 1st place.
Behind Patriots, yes.
Yeah, of course. But he wouldn't meet him until the finals. And if he can somehow beat Hydra here, he goes up against Xanster next, which is a great Zerg, of course, but less experienced than Hydra.
So this is the biggest game of all for Lilbow, of course.
I would say if he beats Hydra here, 100% he goes to that finals.
Does anybody here think Lilbow's actually going to win? I'm just curious. Are we all just agreeing? Is that the consensus?
We've been doing predictions. Up here, I think I picked Hydra.
We'll get to that. We'll have a look at the predictions in a quick second. But this is going to be a best of 5, of course, continuing through the quarterfinals. We do have the map vetoes ready. The players have locked them in. And we'll take a quick look at that in a second here. But talk to me about the differences here for the best of 5 compared to the best of 7 that they played in last time.
Well, you don't have to play every single map here, and that's important because a few of these maps in every matchup are going to be a little bit weird, a little bit hard, so to be able to eliminate that and just kind of play more towards your comfort is the most important thing.
Well, here they are. Terraform, Bridgehead, Coda, Cactus Valley, and Iron Fortress are the maps that we're going to be going to.
Yeah, and again, I really liked actually Rotterdam's analysis in the series before this, kind of talking about how the first 3 maps are usually, and this is true here, they're your comfort maps. These are the maps these guys play on all the time. We saw this all through the round of 16, we're in the round of 8 here now. And then the add-on maps, that's where you get some of the weird stuff. So like Iron Fortress, that is not a map a Protoss wants to play a PvZ on, but in this best of 5, you're going to play on one map like that, at least.
Yeah, and it's really important to take a look at the actual lineup of maps as well, and I have to agree, that is such a difficult map. I can't see Lilbow winning against Hydra there, so if he's going to take down this series, I think that it needs to be a 3-1 or a 3-0.
Talk to us about map number 1, Nick, and how much confidence you can gain from playing map number 1 and getting a victory there, because it can really go either way.
Well, I mean, you have so much more wiggle room, right, in a best of 5. A best of 3 can be pretty unforgiving, but getting that first game, winning that, it's obviously a one-on-one map, so Protoss can do a lot more sneaky stuff on a map like this. That's something to keep in mind as well. But I think we really got to pay attention to game 1 here to see how this is going to unfold.
All right, so Terraform is going to be the destination between the both of them. Or we're going to see that successful French-style play through here. And that's going to be the interesting part of this, because that is the weakness of Lilbow, as Hydra has pointed out. He plays the same every game.
He does, but the cool thing about him is he adds a little bit of variety. Maybe it's playing Stalker's 2 base, or maybe I'm feinting that and going for a 3rd base. Like, the little subtleties that he'll add into there have huge differences, and that's kind of what's tough about playing against him.
Okay, let's take a look at the predictions then. So we've been doing the predictions all week, and Nathanius has somehow crept to the top of it, but he got the last one wrong. This time, it's 4-4. Tastosis, you can join in on this. Where would you go if you were to pick here?
This is a really hard one, actually, to
Would you
predict.
say it's 50-50?
I mean, you guys have already said it's 50-50. Yeah. I'm actually going to go with Lilbow here because I feel like, you know what, he's coming in here. He needs this win. He wants this win a lot more than Hydra, I would say. He wants to go to BlizzCon. And having done so well in Toronto against him and having all that practice time since then, I think he can do it.
I'm going to be a little bit boring here. I'm just going to say Hydra. I think I'm just going to look at the history here. I can't argue with that. Hydra's doing so well right now. He's so hot right now.
All right.
I think he's going to.
That Hydra's so hot.
He's so hot right now.
He's so hot.
We're like Mugatu. He's so hot right now.
Final thoughts then, Altos, before we get into this.
I'm really hoping to see Lilbow pull out his absolute best games here, mix up a little bit, throw Hydra off. The fact that Hydra told him that he feels like he's predictable, maybe he can use that against him and make it look like he's doing the same thing every game, and then maybe pull a couple fast wins.
He did have time to prepare, so he could definitely mix it up here.
And Control, what do you think?
Honestly, I'm going to go off the back of Artosis. I think that is an incredibly well-said statement, and I agree. Like, it's going to come down to, hey, you think I'm doing an all-in timing attack, but it actually turns out I'm getting an economic advantage. And I really feel like the first map, Terraform, actually plays that pretty well. It's one of the easier 3rd bases to take for a Protoss in this map pool.
Do you think that Lilbow's going to be looking to change up drastically overall, or stick to what he knows best?
That's like the question of competition. It's like, gosh, that guy knows what I like to do. Maybe I should completely get away from what I've been practicing forever. And generally speaking, the answer is no, you don't do that.
Yeah, I would say maximum 1 game we'll see him go way outside the box.
I think that would probably be
more
on
than
game
that.
1. I think that's the best time to do it. We've seen this a lot at GSL too.
See?
People do the really weird strats in game 1, and then they can normalize their play, because then you have to start figuring out in game 2, okay, now what does he actually play like? And you have less room to learn.
I like it.
One thing that in the finals last time is that Hydra started to go outside the box, and he kind of got lost finding his way back into the box. And he started to make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of people were criticizing his play because of that. He's got to be careful, surely.
Yeah, I mean, if he overextends at all here, this is a player that absolutely can knock him out, despite the fact that he's got, 5,000 WCS points right now. Yeah. He's like a sure seed going in very highly into BlizzCon. Definitely one of the best players in the world, but Lilbow is just at that level where he's a borderline BlizzCon guy, but you mess up, he's going to take you down very quickly.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Awesome to have you here. Tastosis will have some more of you later doing some casting for us, but it's now time to go to Game 2. Quarterfinal number 2, the repeat of the Season 2 finals happens now.
The rematch of the season, Roddy. It's the grand finals of Season 2 all over again, but this time Lilbow came into it saying he's feeling better than ever.
It's going to be such a cool series. The finals, like Jeff said last season, was a very good finals. It went 4-2 in favor of Hydra, but for the first appearance on such a stage, I think Lilbow did very well. And there is one very big difference between the map pool of this season and last season. Last season, Nate, it was gold bases over and over again. Vani, Expedition Lost, Inferno pools. We don't really have that many gold bases this season. One of the gold bases we do have is, of course, on our very first map, which is going to be played on Terraform. And I can't wait to see if Hydra is actually going to take it, Nate.
That's right. We are loaded into Terraform to kick off this best of 5 here at the World Championship Series. Can the Frenchman overcome his adversary, the champion from Season 2 in the Northwest, spawning as the Blue Zerg, Root Gaming's Hydra? And his opponent, whom he defeated in the grand finals of the last season, the French Protoss in red from Millennium, he's Lilbow!
Such a big series, Nate, and such a big opportunity for Lilbow as well. A while ago, when it was Season 2 going on, we said he could maybe make it to BlizzCon, but it all didn't seem that realistic. Now, with this bracket, I do think it's very realistic, especially if he's able to overcome Hydra over here. In this best of 5, it's going to be very difficult, but I do believe he has what it takes to go all the way.
Yeah, and it would be such a statement to make as we come closer and closer to the global finals. These guys working so hard, but especially just the French scene. The French community has brought so much passion in this year. It's really brought it to another level of competition in the non-Korean scene.
Absolutely. I'm already a tiny bit surprised over here. In game number 1, Terraform, Lilbow is going to go for a Nexus first with no Scout. That's pretty much the most greedy and most economic build order in the Protoss arsenal, while Hydra on the other side of the map started off with a spawning pool, but he will take that gold base as well. Hydra just loves his gold bases, man.
And you know, you're friends with cats, those things just happen to you. But Lilbow moves the probe out. He will see this gold base. Roddy, you're the Protoss man. What's Lilbow got to do? What is he most concerned about in this position?
I don't think you have to be super concerned about it just yet. This gold base is not as strong as it was on some of the other maps that I just mentioned that we saw in Season 2. It's kind of scary, but Terraform is very unique in the way that you can attack the mineral line from the other side. And that actually makes this gold base... Yeah, it makes it, of course, a problem, but it's not something that you can never deal with. You know, if you get a couple of units out or a War Prism and you park it on the other side of that mineral line, it actually makes all those drones so exposed. Like, look at this area, and it's very tricky for the Zerg to defend that, because they have to run all the way around through these side blockers.
Okay, so the strategy he's chosen gives him that early economic boost, but makes him more susceptible to some early aggressive plays. The Overlord will come in. He's gotten a hint. You see the Cybernetics core coming in this late. He has to say to himself, okay, I know it's Nexus first. Is there a way Hydra can punish this with his gold base?
Probably not immediately, but I think there is a small chance he's going to try to achieve something with these links. I was wondering if he's going to make 4 or even 6 links. It's just going to be 2 links, so he doesn't want to take any risk right now, Nate. Making 6 links is not the end of the world, of course, but it does slow you down a little bit as a Zerg. And he's saying, like, nah, Lilbow's really good when it comes to early game, you know, probe control, zealot control. I'm not gonna make 6 links right now because most likely I won't be able to get done what I'm hoping for.
And he'd rather have those larvae be spent on drones so that he can continue to boost his economy, especially off of that gold base. These lings just being annoying, preventing him from being able to put any probes on this natural expansion, but the Mothership Core is going to scurry those away. Zergling speed is starting, Roddy. Where is Hydra going with this?
He's probably just worried about gateway pressure, so I think it's a safety Zergling speed for now. Most of the time when when Lilbow goes Nexus first, he follows it up with a Stargate. I'm not sure if he's going to do that right now because this is a gold-based map. On bigger maps like Cactus Valley, it's most of the time it is a Stargate follow-up for this man. The Stalker, of course, is going to make it very hard for Hydra to figure out what's going on, but there are extra gateways going down for now, Nate. So this time, perhaps because there is a gold base in play, he's not going to follow it up with a Stargate.
He doesn't want to take any chances as far as setting himself up. Getting the wall on the natural is important for him. I was going to say, though, you make a good point. The Stargate play can be kind of weird, but the bases are a little bit spread out, though, no?
Yep.
It's harder to move between them with the queens.
No, it's absolutely not a bad idea to go Stargate here, but of course, if you play against the gold base and you open up with oracles and there is a spore crawl in every single mineral line, then suddenly you're like, oh, this is going to be rather tricky right now. So instead, it's going to be a robotics facility, and I'd be surprised if we see anything other than a War Prism come out immediately. To go back to what I said in the start of the game, this gold base, it's scary, but there are ways to, you know, at least be annoying as a Protoss player.
Okay, so the Warp Prism gives him the ability to move around and also still abuse the distance between all the bases that Hydra has. He's moving up to his lair. It'll be done very soon. Zergling speed is complete. And how important is this creep spread? I think connecting back towards his natural will really help him defend against Warp Prism play.
For sure, but I think the main goal here for Lilbow is going to be a little bit of harassment, just try to be annoying, slow Hydra down, and then go up to 3 bases on the other side of the map. It's actually going to be an Immortal immediately and a Robotics bay. Well, this gives me a 2-base feeling then, Nate. This is so old school, by the way. This is like not something we see very often anymore. This is going to be tricky for Hydra to scout, of course. He's morphing an Overseer right now, and it's going to be very important for Hydra that he scouts this. And if he scouts this, I think he's going to be a tiny bit surprised. He's like, Robo Bay? You know, are we playing Wings of Liberty right now? Oh, he's not going to see it. Wow, well done, Lilbow.
Yeah, this looks a lot like that double Immortal into double Colossus push that would, that's ancient history, man. Your people study those build orders off of hieroglyphics, and now moving into Hydralisks to deal with any other type of fast gateway play. Hydra's, not exactly the most powerful unit against Colossi.
Nope, and most of the time if you're Hydra and you're playing as a 2-base Protoss, you don't really rush up to Hive yet, because if you die to a 2-base all-in, and people will criticize you, why are you going up to Hive? All you need is Roaches and Hydras. Lynx will enter the main base, and that's a small mistake there. The Overseer will see it, the Lynx will confirm the amount of Immortals that are there, and above all, he will spot the Robotics base. Spire going down.
Yeah, immediately starting up that Spire. Of course, robotics facility build order is a little bit weaker in the department against Mutalisk styles, or even if you just wanted Corruptors to kill the Colossi. And now there's a bit of pressure on Lilbow. He's been had, to say the least, and he needs to be very careful about the next few minutes of this game.
Yeah, I think Lilbow's moving out a little bit before he originally wanted to, but he knows that his plan has been revealed. He's been kind of figured out by now, so he's just like, all right, I'm not going to give you the time to do the correct things. I'm just going to march across the map. But the creep spread, Nate, that you mentioned before, makes this so complicated. Like, where do you even begin if you're Lilbow right now?
Yeah, that gold base is very well protected by the creep. You'll be spotted a mile away trying to push onto that. And keep in mind, Roddy, that Spire is still on the way. There's no Twilight Council, there's no Stargate, there's no way to really deal with Mutalisks effectively.
Yeah, Mutalisk is probably going to be the unit of choice here for Hydra, but like you said, even if he goes Corruptors here, I don't even think that would be a horrible decision, because it's all about killing the Colossus and then you can make Hydralisk and you should win, but it will most likely be Mutalisk. The only thing that can be scary for Hydra is if maybe, you know, he leaves the Photon Overcharge at home and then he just all-ins with all the gateway units and Photon Overcharge will push away the Mutas, but right now I am digging, oh, it's going to be Corruptors. Okay, well, I don't mind it, Nate, like I said.
Yeah, and he clears out a little bit of that third base. Hydra's keeping some Zerglings close by. He wants to be able to pressure the third base if necessary, but those Corruptors, they're pretty tanky. Yeah. If he pushes in, will he be certain to kill those Colossi, or can he still get some work done otherwise? Colossus playing with fire.
I love how Hydra's playing this so far, though, Nate. Excellent creep spread, really showing up those mechanics, and he's just making the correct decisions. Like you said, there is just not a whole lot of anti-air in this army. The longer Lilbow waits, of course, the more Corruptors there will be out, the more Roaches there will be out. He's warping in more Zealots. He has like no anti-air, Nate. Like sentries, they just tickle Corruptors.
Yeah, he has 11 sentries and 3 Stalkers.
Oh, I do love that.
Colossi. Hallucinates a few, so we'll need to target fire down the proper ones. He's moving in towards the gold base. Corruptors are coming in from the north side. The Roach Hydra Force hitting from the west, but the first Colossus is focused down, immediately destroyed. Now they're going for the hallucinated ones. He's able to get a couple of extra shots off. The Zealots are running in. There's just one Colossus left. Now they've all been destroyed. The Warp Prism will also be killed by the Corruptors before he can warp in any more Stalkers.
Wow, these Corruptors did some serious work over there, Nate. It's just a few gateway units remaining, and from this point on, Hydralisk are going to be a real problem for Lilbow. Pretty much everything is going to be, because he can't reinforce. He had to reinforce at home. This is not the way that he wanted game number 1 to play out.
He had to take the long way around, Roddy, to come in and to reinforce this push. And with the creep spread still perfectly connecting this gold base with his main and natural, he can reinforce so quickly this army.
I really love the fact that he went for Corruptors. It's just not something we see very often anymore. But in a scenario like this, especially when there is so little anti-air, it's just a great decision, because the Colossus were the backbone of Lilbow's army. And the moment it got picked off, it was all over. And to make things even worse, the War Prism got picked off.
Yeah, Lilbow pushes in once again. The Corruptors even using that corruption ability on these forces to cause them to take extra damage as the force fields parse out a good amount of this army. But there's so much to push through. As soon as he gets through this wave of force fields, he's almost out of energy on these sentries, and the Hydras can start to get on top of those gateway units.
Lilbow actually did pretty damn well over there, though, Nate. This time Hydra is going to be forced to pull the drones, but Hydralisk are doing so much work over here. They're just so much better than the Protoss units right here and right now.
Yeah, they've completely overwhelmed Lilbow's army, and Hydra takes a dominating victory in this battle, losing 7 drones to defend his base. I think he'll take that trade against the 2 base Protoss.
Yeah, any day of the week. Corruptor's going to chase down this Prism as well, which is definitely carrying some precious cargo, since Lilbow doesn't have a whole lot of units to work with at the moment. I love how there's still 2 drones in the mix. They're like, yeah, let's get him, buddy.
Yeah, those lobster claws at work. So they continue to push up. And now, you know, he was actually locked out of his base. He walled off, so the forces can't even retreat back into his own base. Warps and Zealots right on top of this Roach Hydra. I just don't think it's going to be enough. A few more force fields are dropped, but the Hydras continue to stutter step forward. They will kill every last unit the Frenchman has. And I think with that, Hydra can secure game number 1.
Gold bases all over again as Hydra takes Terraform pretty convincingly in the end there. And he's showing us, Nate, that he's not a robot. Something we criticize some players for, you know, every now and then, that they just always do the same thing and they don't adjust to the weird strategy that their opponent is using. Hydra there spotted the robotics facility, saw the Immortals, saw the Colossus, dropped the Spire, and went for Corruptors. Very old school, but in this scenario, a brilliant decision.
Yeah, a thorough breakdown of his opponent's build order, and really it just comes down to a few things. You know, he had those forces in his main base trying to pick off the Overseer, trying to prevent that aerial form of scouting, But then the Zerglings slip by the natural, and he pulls the probes away, delays a bit of mining, but then getting those Lings in to also help confirm that robotics bay was really important for him to make those excellent decisions that you've just pointed out.
Yep, threw down the Spire just immediately. Good news for Lilbow is though that we're gonna play a couple of maps without gold bases now, Nate. So that's perhaps something that he can work with. Of course, later on we could potentially see Dash and Terminal, as Bridgehead is going to be map number 2. That's actually a surprising map 2 here.
Yeah, definitely one of those maps we've seen some weird stuff on from Zergs in the past. Not necessarily a given that Hydra will do those things, but it's certainly fun. We don't have too many stats, but they like to favor Zerg here.
Yeah, not a huge sample size, but 4-1 in favor of Zerg. Of course, as a Protoss player, you hate backdoor rocks in general. I must say, I kind of like this map. I think it provides a lot of great games just to watch, but even to play on it, I find it pretty enjoyable. But it can become very tricky. There are a couple of Zerg builds out there that are not necessarily good on other maps. For instance, double Roach Warren with Tunneling Claws and just mass roaches. But on a map like Bridgehead, that can be phenomenal, especially against the style that Lilbow often uses, where he delays the robotics facility and goes up to 8 or 9 gateways. If we see something like that, I wouldn't be super shocked to see Hydra actually not use Hydras and just go all out on roaches.
Yeah, it's a really cool style to watch, especially as those burrowed roaches are just so annoying to deal with. This map has so many different openings. There's so many different ways to get in and mess with the Protoss player. Once you go for that third, you're exposed in more locations than you would be on any other map.
As we are just waiting for Lilbow to get ready, perhaps thinking a little bit about what went wrong there in game number 1. I do think it's still kind of smart though, because for instance on Terraform, the map we just saw, Zerg's taking the gold bases, it's not uncommon. But it's also not super common. It's not like every Zerg does it. We saw Zenster earlier today, he didn't do it. And there are a lot of Zergs out there who don't necessarily rush up to the gold base on Terraform because it has weaknesses compared to some of the older maps we had. But it just seems like Hydra obviously really loves using the gold bases. And perhaps he also picked up on the fact that whenever Lilbow goes up against the gold base, that maybe he panics a little bit or he does things that he normally wouldn't do. Because it's safe to say that if Hydra would have just taken his hatches on his side of the map, Lilbow wouldn't have gone for a 2-base Immortal Colossus all-in.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was possible he was using it to react and also abuse that other side of the mineral patch. But it's time to find out if he can bring things back to equilibrium here, ladies and gentlemen, at the World Championship Series as we are loaded in to map number 2. Between the Frenchman and the Korean, we have Lilbow and Hydra going up. Currently 1-0 favoring the Season 2 champion. And here he is on the right side of Bridgehead, the Blue Zerg from Root Gaming. Give it up for Hydra! His opponent currently down 0-1, trying to bring things back. The Frenchman from Team Millennium, he's Lilbow!
BlizzCon dream is still alive, but he's gonna have to win 3 out of the next 4 maps against this man on the other side of the map. Bridgehead though, no gold base, Nate. That's a good start. I'm curious to see how Lilbow is going to open, if it's going to be a gateway or a Nexus first. I was even a tiny bit surprised, Nate, that we saw Nexus first on Terraform. Not really a map where I see Lilbow go Nexus first. You know, most of the time, I would even say that the majority of the time it's a gateway opening. Now, Bridgehead is a map where most Protoss players do actually open up Nexus first, so we'll see.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, especially based off the build order that he went for the last game. These guys talked a lot about, you know, the Blink Stalkers, obviously. A lot of the French Protoss players have been favoring those styles. It's kind of popular overall. Do you think that Lilbow takes into account possibly what Hydra was saying in the interview about him being predictable, about knowing that he does the same thing all the time? Is that hurting him in these build order choices he's made?
It's possible, but I still think it has more to do with the gold base rather than with anything else. Because I do think that if Hydra would have just taken his natural expand or his third base and you take the game from there, I think we would have seen a much more standard Lilbow that would have gone up to a Twilight Council and would have gone up to those Blink Stalkers. So I think he was just trying to react to the gold base. This time, again, it is Nexus first. And on a map like this, Nate, considering how Bridgehead can play out, I wouldn't be shocked if he follows it up with a Stargate, especially because later on, this is a pretty big map. There's a lot of surface area to cover, and you want to keep track of a Zerg army. So opening up with an Oracle and trying to do a little bit of economic damage, but then dropping Revelation a couple of times on Roaches or Hydras could be a very good strategy.
Yeah, I have to agree, especially considering that he doesn't have to worry about, as you mentioned already, that gold base. And Hydra opening up with a very, very standard setup. Hatchery first, straight into the pool, and now going for his third base. Maybe playing the economic game to start things off here, Kev.
It's going to be a slow start for now on Bridgehead. Of course, Hydra must be feeling good after that previous game. Hydra is a player that is guaranteed to go to BlizzCon. He's currently ranked 6, I believe, in the rankings. He had an absolutely phenomenal WCS year. This has been by far and away the best year of Hydra's SC2 career. Has won so much money, and of course, you know, his dream is not just to do well over here, Nate, even though that would be another crowning performance for him, but it's BlizzCon as well.
Yeah, everybody's getting ready, you know, for the end of the year, the global finals. That's where you want to be, and you know, it's so much pressure on Lilbow that he's already had to face this man once in his, you know, the ends of his journey for Season 2. But now, having to come up against him again, I have to agree with the boys of the desk, man. They were talking about how if he can defeat Hydra, perhaps that's the most difficult opponent he would face. I feel, you know, beating this guy after he took you out in the finals of the last season, you know, that's a monkey off your back.
Absolutely. That would feel phenomenal. And I think he said it as well when we did the group drawings. He's like, well, you know, this is a pretty tough one. Obviously, it could have been better. It's going to be a sentry after the Zealot for Lilbow, so we'll see the real tech building go down, and it is indeed going to be the Stargate. I'm not too surprised by it, Nate, and I do kind of like it. I'd be kind of surprised if he plays Phoenixes. I'd be very happy, because I love Phoenixes myself, but I think it's going to be an Oracle for everything I just mentioned before. And Hydra is probably not going to be too surprised to see an Oracle fly across the map, because it's a very common opening of Protoss on this map.
All right, and the first Overlord is going to move in once again, trying to get another scout out on this natural expansion. He's looking for the gases. Anything unusual to even be seen here yet?
Yeah, that second gas is pretty quick, right? Because he only had 6-7 probes when he took that first gas on his second base. So that's already a small tell that there will be some sort of attack, and it's not some crazy gateway all in. So even when it looks like Hydra doesn't see a whole lot there, the player that Hydra is, you know, he can make all the calculation. He's like, all right, most likely Stargate could be a Twilight as well, but it's one of the two. Ooh, that Zealot almost moved out of position.
Yeah, don't want to give up the Ghost just yet here. That Oracle is halfway done. We have Zergling speed on the way, but look at this, 3 Spore Crawlers coming in for Hydra. He's very aware of what's going on.
Just spotting the gases is often enough for a player of Hydra's caliber. Even if he's not 100% sure whether it's Stargate or Twilight, you know, maybe it's Dark Templars, but Spore Crawlers are very useful against both, and it's not going to slow him down all that much anymore. So just a good call there by Hydra.
Yep, Belair will start up as well. He'll take a few more of his gases, and Lilbow drops down the Forge, 2 extra gateways, and as Warp Gate completes, if you're Lilbow and you're opening with this Oracle, you can't get too much damage done because of the spores. How long is he going to wait for this third? Oh, maybe he's just going to take it now.
Well, that's actually so fast, by the way, Nate, because he doesn't even have a Mothership core yet. There isn't an Overlord hovering around there. I'm extremely curious about how Hydra is going to respond to this. Some Zerg players, they kind of ignore it and they just drone up, go up to 4 bases. Some Zerg players say like, all right, you know, stop, red alert, we're going to make nothing but units and rally them across the map. This Oracle is going to do a little bit of work here. Just a couple drones is enough. It's much more important that Lilbow keeps this alive, but I'm shocked about how quick this third base is from Lilbow.
Yeah, he got his +1 starting up now.
Don't lose it.
Don't lose the Oracle, pulls it away from that Queen as it moves up the ramp. Warping in a few more sentries. So +1 attack. This is looking a lot like a good setup for what we basically see most Protoss players do these days, Cav. As 1/1 Ling upgrade start for Hydra.
Ah, that's cool. We might see Ultralisk even in this game eventually. Something we saw earlier this tournament being used as well by Zenster. Even Snoot brought out the Ultralisk quite a bit against Gongfu. It's very important that Lilbow picks up on this as quick as possible. The Hydralisk will go down. It can also just be for, you know, very strong Ling Hydra timing, but I feel the Hydra then is a tiny bit late for that. We'll see a couple of roads in production as well.
Well, there's a lot moving out onto the map. With the Mothership Core joining this large sentry force, he could use force fields to keep those sentries alive, but then, you know, recall if it's ever necessary. The Lings are going to try to swing around this, but good block off, actually keeping a few of them out bay.
I feel so far this is going pretty damn well for Lilbow. I kind of like it. He's on 59 workers against the 68 of Hydra. He's going to have a pretty good idea of what he's playing against. He's going to use Envision over here to clean up a little bit of creep. I like that a lot as well because we saw it in the previous map. If you don't do this, it's just going to spiral out of control. So I really like this. Obviously, it's kind of a risky push. The Zerglings are coming in from behind as well. Lilbow has to be very careful. It's not too many Lings, but we saw what Lings can do, especially Lings with upgrades, even though they don't have upgrades yet. So I guess Lilbow is just going to recall out of here. There's no need to waste all your energy. But he didn't end up losing a single unit there.
Yeah, pretty nice. Moves forward, gets a bit of information, and of course is able to push back that creep, as you said. Spire is on the way, and we also have Hydralisk range coming in, but there's the +2 attack. Blink is halfway done. A couple of defensive cannons even being put in the mix there by Lilbow. He doesn't want to be too vulnerable to any aggressive pushes by those rocks.
Yeah, I like it a lot. These cannons are going to be useful later on as well if we actually see Mutalisk being brought out on this map. The Mothership Core is going to spout this Roach Force. There is no roach speed, by the way, right? Those roaches are way
Nope,
too
no
slow.
roach speed whatsoever. Voidray is even being pushed out by Lilbow, which will be very useful against these roaches too. Link's trying to run by towards the third base, sneaking around, actually going to go straight into the main. There's no Zealot there to block. All of Lilbow's forces are coming in home to defend. There's nothing in the main base to push these Lings away. The natural expansion has those cannons finishing up, but the probes will have to run away and won't be able to mine for a little while here.
Yeah, this is actually very frustrating. It's so important for Lilbow that he doesn't end up losing too much over here. All the Lings are going to wrap around the Nexus, but there are so many force fields available over here that he's going to be able to save it. So far, Lilbow managed to deal with this so extremely well. Didn't really lose a whole lot of probes. He's going to end up losing a few more here. As long as it's not like 15 workers, I think he's fine, Nate.
I mean, he has not been mining too much during this time period. The Lings hold position to pick off a few last probes as even the Oracle chips in to help clean up here. So now Lilbow's managed to retake control of his base. We have two Ling upgrades on the way, roach speed, and a lot more Zerglings in production. When does Lilbow make his move, Roddy?
Well, the big problem is here, Lilbow doesn't exactly know about the tech buildings on the other side of the map. He's never seen the Hydralisk Den. He hasn't even seen the main base. He hasn't seen the Roach Warren. He didn't see the Spire. I think for a split second there, he was worried about double Roach Warren play. Ooh, the Oracle died. That's very unfortunate. But he will spot the Hydralisk now. And if you look at the army, 74 against 80. Blink is ready. I kind of like this for Lilbow. You know, there is 1-1 upgrades, but there are not that many Zerglings out on the map at the moment.
I mean, he's got 44, 22 more on the way, and
Yeah.
those two upgrades are really making me nervous in this position.
With 60 Lings, that's indeed a whole different ballgame. That's a good setup over here by Hydra as well. Lilbow's gonna have to be very careful. He needs to drop more force fields against these Zerglings. So far, so good though, Nate.
Yeah, he's managed to hold most of them back. He's going to move towards the left side. All the Hydras and Lings are on the east side, grabs these roaches, but at the same time, Hydra going for this surround. Lilbow says, okay, I'm going to eject, hits that recall button, and he's back home.
And what I like most about it, Nate, is because he didn't have a reinforcement pylon. It would be very silly to fight there. As a Protoss player, you never want to fight without a Warp Prism or a reinforcement pylon. This time he's going to fight a lot closer to home. He's going to spot all these Lings. He should have been able to click on these Lings by now as well to realize that these Lings got upgrades. +1 flyer attacks is going down as well. I kind of feel that Hydra is still gearing up for a Muda switch, but I'm not sure how effective it's going to be this map.
He needs to trade out against these Stalkers especially. There's a lot of army here that could deal very well with Mutas if you went into them too quickly, and Lilbow's continuing to steam towards that fourth base in the northeast.
I just wish that he had something to reinforce himself with. Like, this push would already be incredibly scary. There is a probe there in the middle of the map, but Hydra is probably going to pick it off after he's been trying to pick off a couple of these Stalkers. Big battle right now.
Yeah, Guardian Shields get popped. There's the first few force fields, but you said it, Kev, without a reinforcement pylon, these Lings on the west side are going to be very difficult to deal with. The Mothership Core up front will get sniped, doesn't have enough energy for a recall, so no escape for this Protoss army as Lilbow continues to force field off the Hydras on the right side. He's cleaned up the Lings. He has an opportunity to retreat here, but how far is he willing to go? Steps forward again. Hydras are moving in. There's no more force fields.
I think all these sentries are going to die. I think the best thing right now is just to blink back and wait for reinforcements or run towards reinforcements. There are a couple of Stalkers joining in real soon, but these Hydras, they've taken care of all the sentries by now, Nate.
Yeah, and with the rest of the Stalkers blinking in, it's still a very difficult trade for Lilbow to take, and now we start to see the Mutalisks on the production map even coming in to help fight against these, bringing every single unit that he has, the Stalkers forced to run back.
Yeah, it's kind of nice for Lilbow that he spots the Mutalisk right here, though. That could have been worse. If he spots it when there are 15, 16 and he's out of position, he's going to lose a bunch of probes immediately. Let's not forget, these Stalkers already have +2. That's an okay-ish scenario to deal with Mutalisk, as long as there are no Zerglings on the ground, because these Lings are becoming very, very gnarly.
With the 2-2 upgrades, they are so difficult to deal with. These Mutalisks are going to come up. He's just going to trade head-to-head. Lings on the ground, Mutas in the sky, and all of these Stalkers blinking back are just going to die, Kev. Lilbow drops below 90 supply here, pushed back towards his third base. He's got cannons, but how can he ever leave his base now?
Yeah, he's just going to have to defend for now and rely on these cannons. Doesn't have a Mothership Core, so no photon or overcharge. He's going to wipe in a couple of Zealots to help out against these Lings.
And they're choked up. The Zealots aren't even hitting the Zerglings. All the Stalkers are taking the maximum amount of damage. And as the Mutalisks continue to pick up these forces, Hydra takes a double supply lead over Lilbow. Infestation Pit finishing up. We're going to see him push towards Hive Tech. GG Hydra takes the 2-0 lead in this best of 5.
It's all business so far for the reigning champ Hydra. Played very good there, Nate. Interesting style with those upgrades, with the emphasis on so many Lings. You know, 44 Lings, make 20 more, 66 Lings. But I still think that was a manageable game for Lilbow. I kind of felt that he handled everything well. The run-by was unfortunate, but it was going all right. The biggest problem is just that he was so far north out on the map on Bridgehead, and he didn't have a reinforcement pylon. He was forced to reinforce all the way in the middle of the map. That's why the first time he was forced to recall, because he's like, all right, I'm not going to fight without reinforcements. And then the second time, he was just stuck. He lost his probe, he lost his pylon, and that's just the beginning of the end. As a Protoss, you need those reinforcements.
Yeah, really difficult position to be put in, not being able to reinforce his army. As we are finished up with Game 2, we are going to go to a very small break while we get ready for Game 3. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series Season 3 Finals. We are just about ready to get into game number 3 between Lilbow and Hydra. Things looking rough for the Frenchman, Roddy.
Yeah, definitely a very unfortunate series so far for him. Game number 1 gets thrown off a little bit by that gold base. Game number 2 handles most of the things all right. And then just one crucial mistake there. Not expecting Hydra to be as aggressive as he was. Well, mate, on this map, Coda, it's pretty much the most straightforward map right now. There shouldn't really be a whole lot that is going to surprise Lilbow. And perhaps this is the start of the comeback that he truly needs right now.
Yeah, this is where he has to make it happen. From this point forward, Lilbow must win every single map that remains in this series if he wants to move on and keep his dream alive of making it to the global finals at BlizzCon later this year. Everything is on the line on Coda.
The French superstar, he did so well in the previous season. One of the very few non-Koreans that still has that BlizzCon dream alive, or pretty much the only one. It's been a very impressive season by him regardless, Nate. Regardless of what happens over here. In the round of 16, he was in a group with Jaedong and 4GG. He managed to win that group. It's been so long since we saw foreigners winning groups like that. So Lilbow has definitely shown us that he has what it takes to mess with the absolute best. And that is right now, that is Hydra. There's a reason why he is the reigning champ. There's a reason why he's so incredibly high ranked when it comes to WCS points. And there's a reason why he's just such a beast, Nate.
Yeah, Hydra has been, you know, one of the biggest things I think that shows like what this season, this year, this whole format's been about. Move to America. God, as he's been living in California with the Root Boys. We've seen the crazy strategies come out of him, and you know, it's been really fun to watch him develop as a player because he's come in and I think his interviews have been really good too. He's been one of the guys that's really been showing how much he cares being a part of this circuit.
Yeah, I really love how you pointed out as well, Nate. Like, obviously, Hydra is a very strong player when it comes to mechanics. Plays at 320, 330 APM all the time. He's a very clean, very smooth player. But he's also a player that thinks outside of the box and shows us some very cool and creative stuff, which is something that we don't see super often, you know, from those Korean players in general. And perhaps living with his captain, of course, Root Cats has something to do with that. Perhaps he made him a little more open-minded, Nate.
Certainly hard not to be, but we are loaded into Game 3. Can the Frenchman bring it back on Coda in the Northwest? Spawning as the Blue Zerg, representing Root Gaming, he is Hydra! Everything here is on the line for this man in the Southeast, the Red Protoss from Team Millennium. Give it up for Lilbow! Awesome crowd, by the way, here, Kev.
Absolutely. Poland always shows up, Nate. It's been like that since 2011. Every single tournament we've ever had here has been awesome. Early this year, even, IM Katowice was great. But of course, for now, all eyes on Coda. Lilbow is fighting for his BlizzCon hopes, trying to keep the dream alive. I'd say, Nate, if there's one map where we talk about the Blink Stalkers and the Sentries over and over again, if there's one map where this is very strong, it has to be Coda. And this has to be a map that Lilbow felt in the start of this series. If I want to win this series, I definitely have to win Coda. And I believe that he truly believes as well that he can. He's going back to Gateway instead of Nexus first, something he did in the previous 2 maps. And I like Lilbow opening up with the Gateway a little bit more. It just feels more common.
Yeah, and in this position, you know that Hydra can be a little bit crazy. You don't want to be too predictable and doing the same thing over and over again. But Hydra's just going to take that fast expansion. And I wanted to ask, we talk about the maps that are remaining. If Lilbow wants to stay alive, he'll have to win on Iron Fortress as well against Hydra.
Yes, but that is something to worry about later, right? It's right now.
He's just got a long road ahead of him, I guess.
But right now, the only thing he has to worry about is Coda. And of course, momentum is a very, very real thing in StarCraft. It's something we can't really explain, or it's something that just doesn't make sense. But once a player picks up a map, suddenly they can turn series around. You just get such a boost of confidence, and you start willing to take some more risk, and suddenly a couple of things will go unpunished. Everything can still swing in Lilbow's way, but obviously he has a little bit of an uphill battle ahead of him.
And he starts up that Nexus on the low ground. We can see now as Hydra's got his spawning pool coming close to completion. Should be moving out another drone, probably towards that third base if he wants to mimic the same play as last game. He takes his gas. So what are we expecting? Just sticking to his guns, Blink Stalker Sentry, ye old standard Protoss.
Absolutely, and just make the big push on 3 bases. Now there's something very cool about the last time that Hydra and Lilbow played against each other on Coda. Hydra opened up with a very quick burrow where he tries to burrow circling in where Lilbow would normally go up to 3 bases, and that kind of forced Lilbow in a very awkward 2-base all-in that was just hitting a little bit sooner than he perhaps normally would have attacked, but obviously not as hard, because on 3 bases you can produce a whole lot more than you can do on 2. And also if your push doesn't work, it's pretty much game over, because nobody wants to be a 2-base Protoss that filled an all-in. I kind of wonder if Lilbow's still thinking about that as well, if he's worried about that burrowed circling opening. And I wonder if Hydra is going to do the same thing again, or if he's just going to play it straight up and let Lilbow go up to 3 bases and take it from there.
And that is one of the scariest parts about playing someone like Hydra, because he can and will do anything. We have a pretty fast Roach Warren relative to the other games in the start of this one, Roddy.
That is ridiculously quick, Nate. That's one of the quickest Roach Warrens I've seen out of Hydra on 21 drones. You can do terrible things with that, but I kind of want Lilbow. Something we have to mention, of course, previous map, Bridgehead. His mothership core was so extremely late. He dropped tech buildings, he went up to like 44 workers, he even went up to 3 bases before he made a mothership core. Maybe Hydra picked up on that. He's like, hey, if you're going to be that greedy, let's see how you can deal with 6, 7, 8 roaches if I just shove them straight in your face. If you don't have a forge, if you don't have stalkers, and you don't have a mothership core, maybe you have absolutely nothing that is good against my very early roach pressure over here.
I think that's brilliant analysis there, Kev. 7 roaches are on the way for Hydra, even kicking up a few lings behind this to try to help break through that wall. And yeah, there's no mothership core on the way. There's nothing here that can actually stop this sort of push.
I'm actually extremely worried right now for Lilbow. He's going to take gases. He has sentries, but sentries, force fields are great in buying time, but you need to be buying time for something that can actually kill roaches. Right now, what are you waiting for then? Maybe Warp Gate to finish up and then start warping in Stalkers? This would be, I'm not going to say the hold of a lifetime, but this is going to be an extremely, extremely difficult hold for Lilbow, because he is still so in the dark. Let's take a look at Lilbow's vision. He sees nothing. He hasn't seen anything since the start of the game. Man, Hydra is playing so smart right now, and Lilbow, he's in for a very rough surprise. Forge going down, that's something, but he needs to fire up the mothership core as soon as possible.
All right, here come the roaches and the lings immediately. That Zealot gets surrounded, picked off, and they're going to get to work on this pylon. Probe's going to come in, getting another pylon as it will unpower that Warp Gate research. No ability to make units right now for Lilbow. Mothership core is halfway done, but the first sentry's going to die across the gap. Running out of force fields is Lilbow.
That is so crucial, Nate. No Warp Gate, no additional stalkers. He's walling off, he's buying time, but there's almost nothing to buy time for. These sentries are going to run out of energy real soon. Roaches will start streaming in, and there is no photon overcharge. What a good build here to pick by Hydra.
Roaches and lings streaming across the map now as the probes come off the line to fight the roaches. Hydra wants to continue his run here in Season 3 and shut down Lilbow's hopes for BlizzCon. More and more roaches continuing to come. The Zerglings get inside. Sentries on the left side trying to fight. The probes have all been cleaned up, Roddy.
17, 18 workers going down, and Hydra is still not done. He has played an absolutely flawless series. He's up 20 supply. He's going to try to make it into the main base. Photon Overcharge might be available real soon, but it's still going to take forever before Lilbow can clean this up. Absolutely disastrous game for Lilbow, and just a very, very smart, strategy here by Hydra.
Even the Stalker gets cornered in the left side of the natural expansion. There's nothing here to fight for Lilbow. More Sentries at the top of the ramp. 3 pylons trying desperately to find a way to salvage this game against the Titan that is Hydra. Has been dominating in WCS all year long.
Photon Overcharge will go down, but this Nexus is running very low on HP already. Zerglings will get cleaned up, but these roaches should be able to get the final hits of this Nexus, and it's gonna go down as well. Well, Nate.
There's not much left to say, Kev. Lilbow pushed back onto 1 base against a 3 base Zerg with 42 drones, link speed on the way, more queens, more roaches. And there's just not that much here for Lilbow. He's just going to have to make, one last shove?
Yep, that's the best you can do right now. 1 base economy. This is basically the weirdest 4-gate we've ever seen, but it's still a 4-gate, and just go for it. With your tournament live on the line, nobody's going to tap out before it's absolutely over. Hydra, of course, is so aware of the economic damage that he's dealt. He's so aware of the position that he's in. He's going to make nothing but units now, and Lilbow, he needs force fields straight out of heaven. He needs the absolute best force fields ever.
Yeah, this is going to be so difficult. He can push him from 2 sides. So many force fields be necessary. There's the pylon trying to set up, but here come the roaches, here come the lings, here come the queens. Down both ramps, grabbing a couple of these stalkers. The force fields will push the roaches back. He's cleaned up most of the lings. He's starting to get a little bit of footing here.
That's absolutely a great start there. He dropped, of course, a lot of force fields, but he didn't lose a single unit. Every single unit is extremely important right now for Lilbow, because he's extremely all in. There is no transition from this. Army splites, 36 against 38. He has to be so careful where he goes with his army. This could still technically work, Nate.
Drones are coming off the natural. Hydra's going to try to shut down this push that Lilbow has. He moves back down the ramp, grabs a few of the roaches, and one of these queens should die as well. There's not much here to fight for Hydra, but that economy is slowly but surely paying off. He needs to keep landing those forces.
Wow.
Moving up towards the natural once again. He sees those units, comes up, grabs the ones coming from the third. The drones are coming once again for Hydra.
That Protoss army looks so scary right now, Nate. There's no roach speed, there is Zergling speed, but there is no static defenses. Hydra's gonna have to be so careful about how he wants to engage his army. Lilbow drops more good force fields. Drones are being pulled as well. Is he actually just turning this around now, Nate?
I mean, he's starting to make it happen. Gets the drones at the third base, the roaches at the third as well. Those force fields have been really locking these units out of location for quite some time, and he's starting to cut into that economy. He's really digging into them now.
He's just not losing any units ever since this push started. Lilbow has barely lost anything. He can drop a force field on the ramp now. He's gonna get 3 more roaches. Lilbow on 1 base against a 3-base Zerg. He's actually making this work.
He's actually making it happen, Roddy. Completely locking out Hydra in this position. There's the time warp holding them in place.
Wow.
GG! Lilbow keeps his dreams alive here at the World Championship Series.
Wow, talking about momentum, Nate. When you have a game like that where just everything goes wrong, you lose all your probes, you lose your nexus, and you think like this is pretty much the end. I'm just gonna run across the map and try to make it happen on 1 base, and then you do it.
That smile.
That's a cheeky smile, and that's a smile you get when you lose your natural, but you still win the game. Wow, we've got a series now.
Absolutely phenomenal decision making. You lose everything in your first lap. Well, just got to throw one last punch and hope it sticks. And boy, oh boy, did it stick. Hydra now in a bit of an awkward spot, but still 1 map away from advancing. He's not in too much trouble yet.
Hydra probably wondering what on earth just happened, man. I'm pretty sure that game was over. I killed 18, 19 workers. I killed the natural. I killed a couple of your sentries. Where does it come from? Well, Nate, this is Protoss. It ain't over till it's over.
And this crowd's getting riled up as this series goes forward. Oh, man. Cactus Valley will be the next map in this best of 5. Talk to me, Kev. What are we looking for?
Well, I think we're looking at a very happy Lilbow at first. Once again, that must be going into this game with so much more confidence now. Of course, he realized he escaped, like he dodged the bullet there. That build by Hydra was designed to deal with his opening. And on paper, it all seemed to work out. But somehow, some way, Lilbow turned it around, Cactus Valley, of course, a 4-player map, very different than Coda. It is still a map with a lot of choke points. It's a map where I think Lilbow has to really be on top of his scouting, like proxy spires, proxy anything. You have to be so aware of it. It's a good map for stalkers and stalkers and sentries. The combination of it, except when mutas start flying around, I think it's very hard to blink from your main to your turret, or perhaps even take a fort base eventually. So as long as Lilbow scouts all the time, I think this is an okay map. There are a lot of Zergs who don't really like this map because of all the choke points.
It's very important now that Hydra keep his wits about him, as it's now opportunity time for Lilbow to bring this series to match point. We are loaded in, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to find out if the Protoss player, if our Frenchman can keep his dreams alive of making it to the global finals. This is it, everything still on the line for Lilbow as we are loaded in to Cactus Valley in the northwest position, spawning as the blue Zerg. We have Root Gaming's Hydra.
Even Hydra must be a little shaken up now, Nate. That was very surprising.
Yeah, and this guy, man, he has a long way to go, but he's done it in the last map. Can he do it again? We have Millennium's Lilbow.
He's got so much support, and you can see it as well. You're smiling, he's happy. I still believe. I think the dream is still so alive. This would be one of the most remarkable comebacks we've seen in StarCraft 2 history. Of course, let's just see how the openings go at first here on Cactus Valley. We have cross positions. I kind of like that for Lilbow. I don't think that's too bad. Of course, there are so many different attack paths on this map, so it's going to be tricky later on. He really has to keep track of that army. It could be another Nexus first into a Stargate. Something that Lilbow does sometimes is Nexus first into Stargate into 7 or 8 gate all-in. Something we saw Gong Fu try as well. But then it would just be with an Oracle. But it's really hard. When your tournament live is on the line, do you really want to 7 or 8 gate it up?
Yeah, that's a big risk to make. And you know what, though? Being cross spawns, neither of the first two Overlords for Hydra are going to go straight to Lilbow's base. He has a bit more of an opportunity to play a style that will allow him to be a little bit less susceptible to getting scouted.
Well, here we do see that Nexus first, no scout. Of course, a pretty risky build order against some of the very early pulls out there. But it's very unlikely Hydra would go for something like that, because Lilbow drops Gateway first very, very frequently. And, well, if you pull your drones against a Gateway first, Nate, you're pretty much down and out. You mentioned it as well, Overlords were going into the wrong direction, so Hydra is not going to go too crazy over here. It doesn't want to go double hatchery before spawning pool, so it's just a single hatch before the spawning pool is going to go down. And Lilbow, at his side of the map, has taken his first gas, has warped in his Gateway, and I can't wait to see what the Frenchman will bring on Cactus.
It's so much at stake. So many people watching this awesome crowd as well. And so many of you online have been supporting these players all year long as they've made their quest through. And, we started the year off, so many people were looking at the guys from last year that got close, Bunny, Snoo, and they still had their best runs. This year they still got so close, and now it's on Lilbow. It's really, it's been awesome to follow just the growth of these foreign players.
And the start of the year, Lilbow was definitely considered to be one of the better Protosses, but nobody really put him as the best player in Europe, or the one guy that would still be in the running for BlizzCon when all others failed already. But he has surprised enemies and friends with his Season 2 performance, where he made it to the Grand Final. And now again, in Season 3, like I said, that round of 16 group he had, 4GG and Jaedong. There are very, very few non-Koreans who can make it out of that group.
Yeah, he just slapped his way out of that one, and that's, I think, one of the things that makes him so fierce, if he's able to climb out of this hole that he's in. And he already took the first step, and in this second game, he'll be allowed to get away with pretty much whatever he wants. Hydra's not doing anything crazy. He's going up to that third base.
Hydra's probably never going to do that build again. He's traumatized, man. He's like, are you kidding me? I killed 18, 19 workers. I forced him to go for a full wall off on top of his ramp. I unpowered warp gate technology. He had no mothership core. I killed the Nexus, and I still lost the game. Just Protoss things, Nate.
And then, look at this little cheeky probe hold position denying the scout. Really nice play there by Lilbow. Do not want to give any information to his opponent, and that sentry comes down, he'll take care of it with no trouble.
Yeah, so far this is a very standard setup for Lilbow. It's going to go up to most likely 3 bases here. There is no quick early tag, no crazy Twilight or Stargate. It could very well be him just trying to go up to 3 bases, saturate these gases, get the sentry count up, then get the mothership core, move out with a couple of units just to slow Hydra down, and then go up to 3 bases behind that. And then once again, as long as he keeps all the sentries alive and he hallucinates Phoenixes throughout the entirety of this game to really keep, track of what Hydra is doing, this could be a very doable map for Lilbow.
Yep. He's just cranking out those sentries as Warp Gate's closer and closer to finishing up. And Hydra, he's just cranking out the drones as well, but what are we really looking for? He's not entirely certain what his opponent is up to, so he's going to throw on defensive spore crawlers just in case.
Yep, he has no idea what to worry about, and Cactus Valley is a large map where we do often see stuff like proxy stargates, so he's just going to throw up these spores. It's very important to mention as well that Hydra delayed speed, so Hydra, he's playing very greedy over here. If Lilbow would have put on some very quick Whoa.
Okay, he's getting a few more gateways up here, Roddy. Moving out with a Zealot. What exactly is he trying to pull here?
That is not very common, Nate. That's not something we see most of the time. They had a very cool game the last time they played against each other, which was actually a little bit similar, where back then Lilbow did the exact same thing, I think, against Hydra in the Season 2 finals. He pretends he's going up to 3 bases, and of course, eventually he could use this base if he doesn't cancel it, but he's making so many gateways, Nate, that he's going to try to sneak a probe across the map, and he's going to put on some real serious pressure. Zergling speed is late. Killing that Overlord is so nice, by the way, because if that Overlord spots all the gateways, Hydra immediately knows what up. He's still droning up. Burrow is an upgrade that is very, very useful for Hydra if these armies actually start clashing with each other. But I think that Lilbow is going to be very aggressive soon. And it will all come down to execution. It will all come down to force fields.
Yeah, he was posturing himself towards the northeast as he's only just found out where Hydra actually spawned.
Tunneling Claws before Roach Speed. Wow, Hydra's reading this like a book, Nate. He hasn't even seen it yet. This is super uncommon. I cannot emphasize enough on how uncommon this is.
Yeah.
Tunneling Claws before Roach Speed is something you almost never see unless you're 100% sure that your opponent is pushing with just gateway units. And Hydra, man, he does have a sixth sense.
Yeah, this is going to be really dangerous now. We can see Lilbow's perspective as he pushes up, and this could get really dicey as that burrow gets closer to completing. So we have him starting to move in. Force field's in a good amount of drones. We can see him getting a lot of possible worker kills here. All the workers are choked up in this position. There's the Warpins coming in on the south side, and Hydra pushed back by the force fields.
Yep, he's going to have to kill roaches very quickly, because if this roach count goes too high, and then Tunneling Claws will be revealed. I love that Hydra is not revealing the fact that he has burrow yet. He wants to keep it as a surprise. This Stalker count, though, Nate, is so high. There's a lot of roaches on the way, but if the Stalker count keeps growing like this, Lilbow could very well be evening up this series.
Burrow has just finished up. Tunneling Claws is about to complete as well. This is such an important moment now, as already a roach or two have Burrow during this fight. He's going to start a robo facility right here.
Yeah, I like it. You want to get detection. He's going to pick off a couple of roaches over here as well. Lilbow was almost down and out in game number 2, but now in game 4, it suddenly looks quite good. Here come these roaches, but that roach, I don't think it's high enough, Nate. I really don't think that's high enough. Getting the sentries would be great, but is that truly all the roaches he needs?
It's going to be a really risky play. Maybe he wants to hit him from 2 directions at the same time before that detection is available. If he even knows there's detection on the way.
I don't think Hydra is aware of the robotics facility, but it doesn't really matter right now. When is he going to reveal all these roaches? With a big roach around, Hydra could still turn this around, but Lilbow's up 18 supply, Nate. Normally the roach player is supposed to be up in supply, not the Protoss gatewayer.
Observer's on the way. Does Hydra even know that Observer's going to show up? He needs to get his roaches away from their force fields. These ones away. They're going to unfurl right on top of the sentries. The detection is almost here. That Observer is done. More Warpins are coming in for Lilbow as he's pushing into the natural. He's got a 30 supply lead. The Observer is on the way.
He's making this work, Nate. Lilbow is making this work. 83 army supply against 56. Just 2 hatcheries of production. Hydra's going to pull the drones. He's going to try to get some sort of a surround up. But when there are more Stalkers and Zealots than there are roaches, you know you're doing something right as Protoss.
Yeah, he's pushing in once again. The roaches from the left side coming in. They're just going to immediately get chewed up in the meat grinder of Stalkers, throwing away so many forces. Lilbow steps into the natural preemptive force, but he's going to force him to burrow into this army. And here come the drones. Lilbow stepping back. More force fields pushing the drones away. GG! The series is tied 2-2.
I cannot believe what we are watching right now. If you would have told this to anyone when those roaches knocked on the ramp on Coda, nobody would have ever believed this series would have gone to game 5. But the French Protoss, he's keeping his BlizzCon dreams alive, and he played so well there as well, Nate. You know, what I loved most there, he shows up with the army, And most Protoss players are very cautious, right? The moment they start pushing, you don't want to lose your sentries, you don't want to lose your stalkers. He immediately realizes, he's like, hey, you really don't have all that many units. He went aggressive immediately. So Hydra started losing a lot of drones, a couple of roaches and a hatchery immediately. Even though Hydra kind of felt this was coming, the way that Lilbow executed it, I think Hydra was very surprised by how quick Lilbow truly went all about it.
Yeah, just absolutely stellar decision making. You know, it's so cool to get to see that from Lilbow's perspective even. He steps up, he's like, okay, immediately grab the drones, your economy is butchered, gets the queen, and just creates so much pressure. And now, Kev, comes that question I asked you earlier. We were going to Iron Fortress. Can Lilbow close it out?
Iron Fortress, definitely a very tricky map, but I like what you said there, Nate. It's just about having no fear, right? You're playing StarCraft, tournament life is on the line, quarterfinals, even just more than this tournament is on the line for Lilbow. But winning that game on Coda must have given him so much momentum, must have felt like he's on top of the world. The moment you feel like you're eliminated, but you still win, suddenly you're like, I am untouchable right now. And that's how he played there on Cactus Valley with just absolutely no fear. Iron Fortress is going to be a different ball game. It is generally a pretty favored Zerg map, but there are many ways that Protoss can make it happen over here. And even a champion like Hydra, even the world-class player that Hydra is, he must be a little bit shaken up. I know I'd be.
Yeah, this is, it's not exactly where you expect yourself to be going into a series like this with as much confidence and as much prestige in the results that Hydra has. But man, this has just been such an amazing series so far. Iron Fortress, one of the weirder maps especially, but you know, it's been a big one. And we've seen it here and there, not quite as vetoed as something like Moonlight Madness.
Nope, this is a map that if Protoss players can veto it, most of the time they will. It does make its way into best of threes as well, because some Protosses just really hate Bridgehead or Dash Terminal, stuff like that. So Iron Fortress is still often the third map, but it's not as common as Terraform, Cactus Valley, I'd say. The main reason why, of course, as soon as we're loaded into the game, we can talk all about the map. The statistics though, Nate, 12 and 9, we can see slightly favored in favor of Zerg, but it's not an overwhelming number there.
Yeah, not quite undoable for our Protoss player, as you know, there's so much on the line. To win this map puts him that much closer to making it to BlizzCon, brings him that much closer to that opportunity to really set himself apart from everybody else that's competed here this weekend.
And if Lilbow wins this series, that also puts us so much closer to the first non-Korean player ever to win a WCS Premier League. In 2013, we had Stefano coming very, very close, but he fell to MVP in the final. And then we had to wait for years, Nate, until Lilbow made it to the final in Season 2. And now here in Season 3, perhaps it is doable as well. Of course, we still got a couple of very scary Koreans. Paul and 4GG will go up against each other in the quarters. And Hydra, he's still alive. He's definitely not down and out. But if I'm Lilbow right now, I'd be feeling pretty good about this series.
He's got a lot of momentum going behind him. And, you know, he's got so many people that have been cheering for him here. I imagine all the French community tuning in. And it's just been so awesome to watch these guys grow together.
Even this Polish crowd, man, they're chanting his name over and over again. Lilbow, Lilbow, they're feeling it as well. And as a player, that must bring a huge smile to your face. And I can't actually wait to see Mana play on this stage later today. If they're already going this ham for Lilbow.
Bring the roof down, Roddy.
It's going to be sick. The players are ready to kick off game number 5. It all comes down to one map on Iron Fortress. Is it going to be Hydra, the reigning champion, that will move on to the semifinals? Or is it going to be the runner-up of the previous season, Nate? I really can't wait right now.
Yeah, we are loading in, ladies and gentlemen. It is happening. This is it to decide whether or not Lilbow will have a chance to make it to BlizzCon, to make it to the global finals. It's all resting on this one map. We are loaded in to Iron Fortress to decide who's going ahead and who's going home. Spawning in the top right position, the Blue Zerg, who won Season 2 from Root Gaming. He's Hydra!
Still quite some love as well over here for Hydra. A lot of Zerg fans in the audience, Nate.
And his opponent, there's a lot of fans everywhere hoping we can get a non-Korean through in the Northwest. The Red Protoss from Millennium, he's Lilbow!
We've got horizontal spawns over here for Iron Fortress. What does that mean, Nate? Well, it's hard to say what it truly means. It doesn't matter that Lilbow will necessarily play in one way or the other. Going up to 3 bases will still be difficult. And there's even a question to ask there, like if you are Lilbow right now, where do you take your 3rd base? Most likely on the south side of your main. That is probably likely, but as you can see, there's still so much surface area to cover over there. Hydra could potentially attack him from so many different angles. So maybe we're going to see another 2-base special, but Lilbow is a player that in general has a lot of faith in his 3-base style.
Now, in a position like this, with everything on the line, if he had anything else left to show, now would be the time to bring it out. Hydra's opening up economically, a fast hatchery. I'm assuming Lilbow, with the current setup he's got, will also be kind of following the same trend this game. We haven't had too much of the cheddar brought out, Roddy, but man, oh man, what is your mid-game play if you can't take a 3rd base?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to try, right? The second pylon is going to be warped in over here. Hydra's going to switch things up over here as well, Nate. He's perhaps feeling the heat a little bit as he's taking an extractor. We saw on Cactus Valley how ridiculously greedy Hydra was opening, right? He went straight to layer, no Zergling speed, you know, just made nothing but drones for the longest amount of time. This time on a map like Iron Fortress, where we often see proxy pylons go down, he's going to switch things up and he's going to play a little more safe and will most likely actually open up with Zergling speed.
Yeah, not wanting to give up any possible opportunities for Hydra to abuse his position or have his position abused, as it were. And we have that Nexus coming in. So the big question then becomes, what is Hydra going to do for the mid-game play? Will we see the Roaches again? Is it going to be another Zergling play into Hydralisks? Perhaps even Mutas? What do you like on Iron Fortress?
In general, I just love a strong economic style from Zerg, Nate. Just get a couple of Roaches early on, make sure you're safe, make sure you don't die against gateway pressure. And then the moment that the Plotus wants to go up to 3 bases, that's when you make that swell of links, where you try to wrap around the sentries. That's when you knock on the door with a lot of Roaches and above all, a lot of Hydras. Because Hydras, if you set them out in a good concave, if you spread them properly, if all of them shoot at the same time, it doesn't matter how good your Blink Stalker micro is. You know, Hydras will reign supreme.
Yeah, the damage output of those forces is just so potent. It's very difficult to control against them. And now we have the first couple of lings are going to make their way across the map as Hydra gets his first glance at Lilbow's base. Sees the gateway, the cybernetic score, his Zergling speed is coming in. What exactly is he looking for with this Overlord?
I think above all he's looking to make sure that he's not going to die against something silly, right? You don't want to find 6, 7 gateways here and then realize you don't have Zergling speed or that you're only building drones. So he just wants to be annoying over here. This is actually kind of frustrating because the sentry is not out yet. I guess these links won't really do that much damage on the core, but it's one of these things. It's just a tiny bit annoying because Hydra knows Lilbow doesn't rush up to that mothership core. And if people wonder, like, why does Lilbow keep delaying his mothership core? In this phase in the game, if you can focus your Nexi on only producing probes, you rather do that. If you feel like you don't need a mothership core, get those few extra probes out and mining just a tiny bit quicker. Because, you know, on this level, Nate, even 100 or 200 minerals can truly make the difference.
Yeah, there's it's worth it to get everything else a little bit earlier if you know that your opponent won't be bringing any aggression that requires a mothership core to defend.
Yep, robotics facility is being warped in over here. Now, of course, we saw him earlier in this series on Terraform go double Immortal, double Colossus. That really surprised me. This time, Nate, I do think it's going to be a Warp Prism. And I think he's going to try to buy a little bit of time with that Warp Prism and then go up to 3 bases on the other side of the map. It's difficult on Iron Fortress, but it's not impossible.
Now, a couple extra gateways are going up as the robotics facility finishes for Lilbow. Hydra starts up. Zergling upgrades again as a Warp Prism begins. So already, Lilbow looking to open up very aggressively.
Yep. 3 extra gates are going down. That's 4 gates. This is a very quick prism. Oh, God. Oh,
boy,
my
here
God,
we go.
no. Well, Iron Fortress, we said it, Nate. It's hard to go up to 3 bases. And Lilbow, he's showing us no signs right now that he has ambitions to go up to 3 bases. He's sending a hallucinated Phoenix across the map. And this is a very important one, because what that hallucinated Phoenix did is it also spotted where the overseers are located. In a dream world, Lilbow flies this Warp Prism straight to the high ground, and he force fields Hydra out of sight of his main base. This is so risky, by the way. It's very, very hard to transition out of something like this if it fails. He has to avoid the Overlords, Unless he just wants to warp them in the middle of nowhere. But I think he wants to go for the top of the ramp, Nate.
All right, well, I'm keeping my eyes on Hydra's vision as this as this warp prism makes its way closer and closer. Does get spotted, so Hydra can see it a little bit in the edge of his vision here. He's also holding a little position at the edge of that wall.
And 9 roaches on the way. I kind of feel this is good enough. Lilbow is going to start warping in on the high ground here, which I think is smart, because with all those units on the map, everything has to work here immediately. It's so important that you don't lose any units over here, Lilbow, but he ends up losing 1 sentry immediately. Stalk is going down as well. This is a disaster.
Completely shut down this warp prism play of Lilbow. Immediately an Immortal starts up, cancels one of the gates and fires up as well. A second Robo and a robotics bay.
That screams desperation to me, Nate. This is pretty much like, you know, if the first push feels like, well, what do I do from here? Going up to 3 bases is very, very difficult. So what we will do is make 2, 3 Immortals, make at least 1 or 2 Colossus, so you have something that can deal with the Lynx, that can deal with the Hydras, and I'm just gonna take it from here. So this is like, even though the all-in failed, at least he didn't lose that many units, right? So it's not the end of the world.
Stalker gets caught outside the front of his base, a bit unfortunate as the Zerglings flood towards him. That Zealot caught as well.
Well, that is one hell of an ugly wall off, if I may say so.
Lilbow's gonna bring that Warp Prism over to the natural, though.
Oh god, the Lynx will get in there! The Lynx are gonna get in!
They actually do make it in. Okay, so the Immortal's covering the ramp with the Stalker.
Oh my god.
His units in the natural get completely caught up. 2 of them are saved by the Warp Prism, but the Immortal gets killed by the Lynx. His follow-up hurts so much by this as a Colossus begins production as well.
Yeah, these Lynx, they had +1 melee, so they did some serious damage over there. There's still no Mothership Core, by the way. There are 2 Colossus on the way. This is something that Hydra is completely unaware of, because something we didn't mention, Nate, is that Hydra was just so sure, again, that Lilbow would go aggressive, that he delayed his lair. He didn't rush up to lair. His lair is super late, but it was extremely good against that Warp Prism play. But if I'm Hydra right now, I just go ham on the roaches. So there's no need to make Hydra Lisk if you're playing against double Robo Colossus. You just make mass roach.
What does he do when he spots this? You see these Colossi. Gets okay, so go for the roaches. Is there anything else that Lilbow can do as well to ensure this push could work?
Alright, he cancelled something there and he waited for the Spire immediately there instead. A lot of drones on the way. It's kind of risky to go for a Spire here. Whether you want to make Corruptus or Mutalisk, it could all arrive rather late. Like Lilbow right now, he knows that his plan is revealed. He has very, very little choice. There's no way he can go up to 3 bases. He's on 43 probes. That's just not really a realistic option. This Prism is going to spot one of the Lynx. Doesn't spot the majority of the Lynx though. A counterattack could actually be deadly because these Lynx have +1 melee. The Mothership Core is out, right? Didn't we saw a Mothership Core? Yes. I hope that he leaves it at home. Because if he doesn't leave, these Lynx, Nate, are going to counterattack and they're going to force so many defensive weapons and they're going to buy time for Mutalisk.
Yeah, this is going to get really ugly really fast. There's not that much gas on the map right now for Hydra, but there goes that counterattack. One of the Colossi did just finish. Big Daddy Colossus on top of the cliff is holding the fort, and here comes Lilbow pushing now towards that 3rd base of Hydra.
Lilbow needs to start whopping in Stalkers as well, because he barely has any anti-air. He's going to find these Lynx. Force fields could kill a lot of them.
Oh, the Lynx getting caught by those force fields, really cutting that number quite low. Only 26 Lynx remain. The Spire is ready, but it's just roaches on the production tab.
Yep, Hydra realizes that going for a Spire right now is a tiny bit risky, so let's just go crazy on the roaches. There's only 1 Immortal.
Coming in from both sides, hitting from the north, hitting from the south as the roaches come in on the northwest side. The Warp Prism is here to keep the Colossi alive. He's pushing forward, he could actually do it. Here comes the next level Stalker, 6 more roaches in production, but Lilbow is marching towards Hydra's 3rd base. He's marching towards a potential victory.
All the key units are still alive. 3 Colossus still alive. That 1 Immortal has to really stay alive. He's going to start whopping in units. Hydra will try to pick up the Colossus, but all the roaches are dying.
There's nothing left for Hydra. 70 supply remains as Lilbow continues to march forward, cleaving through the drones, cleaving through the queens, and GG is called. Lilbow will advance.
Can you believe what we just saw, Nate? Lilbow was down and out. It looked like he was dead on Coda, and he turned it around, and he advances to the semifinals. What a legendary performance.
Absolutely stellar play out of Lilbow.
All right. I'm going to be very honest. I don't think I've ever gotten this emotional as a host but I can't imagine what you... Look at this crowd standing for you, Lilbow. What's going through your head, sir?
I just...
They just don't want to stop. This is giving you some time to... Yeah, dude. These guys have been... I know you tweeted during that game, you're like, I can feel you guys cheering, but they've been doing this since game 3 when you miraculously came back. All right. This is crazy. If I just tuned in, I would think you won the tournament. But let's hear from the man. Let's give him a chance to talk. I know we're all very excited. My heart's thumping too. I feel like I almost played in that booth. But I can't imagine. How are you still alive?
I don't even know what to say. It's more than just being happy. Like I was down so hard and suddenly I just win a game for no reason. And then the public cheer for me so hard and suddenly I just feel great again and I just play my best and I just win.
Listen, I don't think there's more to say about the games. So as you said it, I mean, you just won one and then the adrenaline pumps through like everybody in this room. But let's talk about then going forward. I know it's a little early. I know you're still trying to process exactly what just happened, but you've taken down Hydra. You had to fight him at the very end of the Season 2 finals. Now that obstacle is gone. Do you feel like free now to maybe take this weekend? Do you think you can just fly through the whole rest of the weekend?
Yeah, right now I basically feels like I have wings in my back, so I think no one will be able to stop me from going to BlizzCon.
Nothing can stop him from going to BlizzCon. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner for the second quarterfinal, it is Millennium's Lilbow. Now it's time to hear what our experts have to say about this match.
Thank you very much, Jober. If you can't feel it at home, it is absolutely electric in here. What a fantastic series. He turned it around from 0-2, and the first 2 games were over almost instantly, but he had the courage.
So was the third game. So was the third game. That was over the fastest it seemed.
What a crazy series, Artosis.
I can't even believe what I just saw there. That third game when, his mothership core wasn't ready, he breaks right through. The warp gate research is like 3 seconds from finishing when he loses the in-control pylon. It was insane.
It was seriously so amazing. When that in game 3, when that battle was going down, we immediately got up and ran over to get ready at the desk because we thought it was over. And then we're all looking at it going, oh my God, is he actually going to come back? And then he did it, and he did it again, and now he's moving on.
Do you feel that maybe in game number 3 there, when it was, everybody expected, that was almost just 99% victory for Hydra. Do you think that kind of broke him down going into the rest of the series?
We were kind of talking about that. There is definitely a possibility of that. The idea of like, I'm going to easily 3-0 this nerd to, all right, 2-1, and then all of a sudden game 4 is starting to slip from his grasp as well. That can rock your emotions big time. And momentum is a real thing in StarCraft. I believe that.
That was absolutely huge there. We do have a moment from game number 5 that we're going to be going into, Artosis. Love to get your thoughts here. Because, again, Lilbow chose a strategy which didn't seem to be working out originally, but he fell to plan B, and then things started to go in his way. We'll bring that up for you in a quick second. But game 5, when everything was on the line, decisive strategies from Lilbow.
He was so watch this, right? He starts with a Warp Prism. He wants to get in here, get some good force fields and catch him off guard, but Hydra was on top of it, just surrounding these units. And where's the Mothership Core? Well, it's not right here, and he loses so many units. I thought he was dead right here.
A lot of people did think he was in control. He fell back to plan B, and at plan B, we were wondering what it was going to be.
Yeah,
I thought that was a misclick.
Well, no, I mean, we've seen this before from him and actually way back in other games, but this is, it's close spawns.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get scouted, we've seen from Hydra, he likes to stay on the aggression side of things, and he does that, and it kind of plays into the hands of Lilbow. In the past, he gets scouted, instant Spire, but because they're so close on this map, and because of the late scout, it's just too little too late.
And look at how low the economy is for Zerg Tasteless. I mean, 47 drones at this point is so very low. He can't afford to do anything at this moment.
No, I mean, he really can't, and that's why, when you're doing something like that, it has to work, or there's no point of return. And I do like the plan B here. If plan A doesn't work, Plan B actually has to be crazier a lot of times in StarCraft. It has to be an even like more extreme version of whatever you were doing before.
And then in a moment here, the Overseer comes in, and this is where Hydra figures it out for the first time. The reaction comes in, he cancels the Hydra's Den, he throws down the Spire, but it's all just a little bit too late, and as soon as he was spotted, Lilbow went.
It's kind of crazy because throughout a lot of this game, it just looks like he's going to lose. I mean, there's a lot of things just going wrong, one thing after another, and then this push comes up here.
It was super risky. Like if Hydra happened to go ahead and just make a Spire a bit earlier, it would have been an easy victory because there's no anti-air. But this was amazing. Those force fields going down, catching all those Zerglings. He has such a good ground pounder force here. He can just kill any army on the ground with it.
Well, he chrono boosted out all the Colossus as fast as he could. He didn't even wait for range upgrade. These Colossus do not have range upgrade against Hydras or a bigger economy or any kind of Spire. They're dead, but this is perfect for the situation. Hydra takes a really bad fight there, pushing it in. He needs more time to get more units out. There's no other reason to fight there, but he pushes forward because, again, I kind of think he was tilted. He was freaking out a little bit.
And like that, Hydra was defeated. Lilbow took down the Season 2 champion and has now got his goal set on the championship trophy. A fantastic turnaround, a 3-2 victory for the Frenchman, eliminating the reigning champion. An absolutely huge feat. And I guess maybe he's taken out the biggest threat. Everyone said if he could get past Hydra, that was the big game. Well, is he looking at this thing right here now?
It's interesting, too, because actually if Gung Fu Bandit would have taken care of Xanster, it would be really tough, actually, because Gung Fu Bandit is an amazing PvP player, but he's out of the way as well. Xanster's done that, too.
And now the biggest threat's gone, and Kung Fu Panda, the kind of side threat's gone. It's only Xanster, and then, of course, you've got the players down in the low bracket, but there's not just the chance for the trophy. It's a place at the Global Finals to play at BlizzCon. This has now turned into a realistic, huge moment.
I mean, that's a great trophy, but I think Lilbow is going for BlizzCon. He's going for broke here. Like, he wants to be at that World Championship. Right now, we have 16 Korean players in those top 16 spots, but he is getting closer and closer to clinching a spot now.
Yeah, it's a big moment for Lilbow. We have to fight a little bit later on. Of course, he moves to day 2, and we'll be fighting in the semi-finals tomorrow. We are going to go to a very quick break, and then when we come back, it is going to be 4GG versus Paul. But we caught up with some pro gamers, and we asked them, what would you say if your job went on a date?
So when someone asks me what I do in general, it's really his reaction really depends on if he knows the industry or not.
The esports aren't that big thing yet, so I think still most of the people aren't looking that well if you say you are a pro gamer.
It's like not a joke. I'm actually a pro gamer. I have a salary and everything.
When I'm on a date, I'm married to the game, son.